what are static fields? Static fields work differently than static methods. We have our instance fields, our instance variables, and then our static variables. As you can see, static, just an int, setting it to 0, and then in our constructor we're going to turn it to 10. And as we slide down, we're going to see in our class, and you can always use these over here to get and navigate around. You can see your members, your methods and properties here, and you can work on this side as well if you have different classes, multiple classes. And that's what we're doing here. We have class 1 up top and class 2 down below, and that's going to help with working with static because it's going to show how you're able to work with different classes. So that would be the first class up top, and then we have our second class here below, and one is referencing the other. Alright, so if we just ran this, we want to actually comment that out, and we want to start uncommenting this. We'll uncomment this a little bit at a time because it has its own types of functionality here. We'll do the first parts here. So we have C1, we have C1 and C2, same class, right? And we're just going to write line here, C1.I, write that out. We do it a second time, and we'll uncomment all the way down to here, and I'll show you what's going to happen. Now, this particular thing here, this is going to write out what the C1 value is. Then we're going to change that C1 value to 20, and then we're going to instantiate another class, and we're going to write out C1 and C2. So you'll see what happens here. Look at that. Everything is 10. Sounds weird. Well, you know what? What happens is that static field is shared among all the instances of the class. So we have multiple instances, and when we turn it to 10 here, we do a 0 in the beginning, but that constructor there turns it into 10. And because we do that, even after we go there and make another value there of 20, as you can see here, it goes back to 10 because we create a new class again, and everything's going to turn to 10. That variable is shared among the two different classes. So that 20 disappears. It's like saying I equals 10, I equals 20, I equals 10, and then looking at the value again. They share that same data there. Totally shared. Well, let's do it again. It's very interesting to look at that. It's very interesting indeed to see that. But it depends on your uses of it, of course, what you want to do with it. You can do just about anything you want using that particular type of work. It really depends on you. So it's not really something you have to do. Normally you want to encapsulate your data so that you don't have your instance or static fields even used within the different classes. So you don't necessarily want to do that. But this is an opportunity to actually use these different ways of referencing static and instance fields. It may come up that you need to have counting, for example, reference counting or something like that, where you need to keep a count for all the instances that are using those classes. Then it becomes interesting for you. Well, anyway, we'll look at this again. We'll look at the third way of doing it. We make C2 equal to 20 here, and then we instantiate another class here, C3, and then we see what happens again. Same thing. Everybody's 10. So you can see we're all sharing that information there among the three classes. That's a static field. Different than a static method. Static method is just going to allow you to have different ways of accessing it. The static way or the instance way, and that depends on the developer. This also depends on the developer. So a little bit of a strange behavior, but at the same time it can be quite useful for you. At least now you know it makes that static keyword a lot easier to understand and think about.